Hey guys, today we're going to evaluate trig functions of any angle. So we're going to start with quadrantal angles. So go ahead and pause the video and jot this all down. Quadrantal angles are angles in standard position. So standard, I guess it would help if I spelled standard right. Okay, standard position, that's the angle that you're always talking about, where it starts on this positive x-axis and then the terminal side rotates around. Okay, so your terminal side is going to be on an axis. So that means if our angle starts here on this positive x-axis, okay, and the terminal side is on an axis, that means we're talking about this angle that's right here. So that angle that's right there, that's 90 degrees, or that's pi over 2. Or we're talking about the angle that starts here and goes all the way and has its terminal side on this x-axis over here. That's going to be 180 degrees, or pi. Or we're talking about the angle that starts here and goes all the way around until it hits this y-axis that's going down. So we're talking about this angle here, this 270 degree angle, or 3 pi over 2. Or we're talking about the angle that goes all the way around, which would be 360 degrees, or 2 pi. Okay, so as we think about the unit circle that we just introduced to you, we're looking at these ordered pairs. Remember that unit circle has a radius of 1. So if that circle has a radius of 1, then that means this ordered pair here is going to be 0, 1. This ordered pair here for my angle is going to be negative 1, 0. This one down here is going to be 0, negative 1. And then the starting point, or all the way around my circle, would be at 1, 0. So those are the angles that we're going to be working with. Remember, we also saw that when we were looking at the unit circle, that the ordered pairs, sine always goes with the y coordinate, and cosine always goes with the x coordinate. So your tangent is the y over x, or sometimes we refer to that as sine over cosine, because sine is y and cosine is x. So the first example we're going to do here is we're going to evaluate all 6 trig functions given an angle. So I'm telling you that my angle is 180 degrees. I want to know what the sine of 180, what the cosine of 180, and what the tangent is, as well as all of the reciprocals. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to sketch that angle. So 180 degrees is going to be this angle that's all the way over here. Okay, so this ordered pair that's over here, remember we're thinking about the unit circle, is going to be negative 1, 0. Now if I think that sine goes with y and cosine goes with x, I'm just stealing the coordinates. So my sine goes with my y coordinate, which is 0. Cosine goes with the x coordinate, which is going to be negative 1. Now tangent, remember that tangent is sine over cosine, or y over x. So if I take that y value, that 0, and I divide by that x value of that negative 1, 0 divided by negative 1 gives me 0. Now to find your cosecant, your secant, and your cotangent, you're just going to do the reciprocal. So as you think about the reciprocal of 0, that's a little bit weird, okay? So when sine of 180 is 0, what you want to think about is that that's really like 0 over 1. So if I were to do the reciprocal, now I have 1 over 0. Well, what is 1 over 0? Go ahead and type that in your calculator, okay, if you don't know. But anytime you divide by 0, that's going to be undefined. So we're going to kind of start to understand that 0 and undefined are reciprocals of one another, and that's because of this right here. 0 divided by 1, or 1 divided by 0. Now, cosine is negative 1, the reciprocal of that is going to just be negative 1. Think about, this is really negative 1 over 1. So when I flip that, I get 1 over negative 1, which is going to simplify to be that negative 1. So the reciprocal, it doesn't change, it's the same. Now remember what we talked about here. See how we started with that 0 divided by negative 1? If I want to do the reciprocal, well now I'm going to end up with negative 1 divided by 0. Remember how we just talked about that 0 and undefined are reciprocals of one another? So if I have 0 for my tangent, my cotangent is going to be undefined also. You're going to type in UND into buzz. All right, let's try pi over 2 now. So same idea. We're going to first sketch that angle. We've got to figure out where that is. So this pi over 2, that's radians. So if you're still unsure, remember 0 and pi are the easy ones, and then that pi over 2 is going to be up here in the middle. So that point, that ordered pair, is 0, 1. So that's the ordered pair that's associated with pi over 2. So if I want the sine, we're stealing that y-coordinate, which is 1. If I want the cosine, I'm stealing the x-coordinate, which is 0. And if I want the tangent, I want y over x, or sine over cosine. So I want 1 over 0. So when we have that division by 0, that's telling me that my tangent is undefined. So to go ahead and do the reciprocals of all of those, well, the reciprocal of 1 is just 1. You remember what the reciprocal of 0 was? That's undefined. We saw that in the last example. So then the reciprocal of undefined means that this is 0. So as we think about these quadrantal angles, okay, the angles that are on one of my axes, the answers are always going to be either a 0, a 1, a -1, or undefined. Okay, there's nothing else that you could have. All right, so if we go one step further now, so in these examples, what I'm giving you is I'm giving you the angle and I'm asking you for all 6 of the functions. Something else I could do is I could say, okay, evaluate just one function. What's the cotangent of 9 pi over 2? So basically you're doing the same thing, but I just want the cotangent. So yes, when you're dealing with cotangent, you're probably going to have to find tangent first, but we don't need any of those other things. What we first want to do is we want to figure out, okay, well, where the heck is 9 pi over 2? So we're going to want to do coterminal angles. Remember, coterminal angles are when you take off a circle. So 9 pi over 2 is going to be going around the circle more than once. So if I want to take off one circle, that means I'm taking off 2 pi.